Hello and welcome to another episode of Super Strategists TV. As any investor will tell you, structuring your loans correctly is crucial in order to continue to build your portfolio. With me today is Nick PLAMENAC, who's going to share with us some of his best tips, as well as provide you with an insight into what to avoid.
Thanks, Rayden. It's great to be here.
Nick, what are the biggest mistakes investors make when it comes to structuring their investment loans?
Rayden, by far the biggest mistake that we see people make is selecting a broker who is not an active property investor. What this means is they are missing out on potentially crucial advice. We pride ourselves on making sure that our clients are structured effectively, both from a home loan point of view and steering them in the right direction for further advice if it's from an ownership or a structuring perspective.
So what types of errors do you see?
Rayden, I see a number of clients who are placing the structures that are very difficult to unwind. To this day, by far the biggest structuring error is still cross-collateralisation.
Nick, could you please elaborate? What is cross-collateralisation?
Cross-collateralisation is whereby an investor will use more than one property secured against a loan. Often we see something that looks like this, whereby two properties have been secured against one loan. However, what we much prefer to do is to give investors the power and the control so that their properties are separate, and it makes it much easier in the future for when they go to refinance to draw more equity.
Nick, what are the disadvantages of cross-collateralisation?
Brad, by far the biggest disadvantage of cross-collateralisation comes to when someone wants to refinance their debt to release equity, or just to refinance because they want to restructure. When they're cross-collateralised, what it means is that each property needs to be revalued. We're always finding that different properties in different locations are going to perform differently. So if a client had, for example, one property perform very well, and another that might have gone the other direction, it can happen. Then unfortunately, their ability to draw our equity for future opportunities is compromised. The other big thing about cross-collateralisation that is a concern is when you've got one financier who's taking control of all of the debt. In this situation, it can potentially reduce future serviceability if they're calculating all of the repayment of the debt on principal and interest, when in fact some or all of the ones are interest only and deserve to be calculated that way.
Nick, what would be the third biggest mistake?
The third biggest mistake that we see people make is mixing deductible debt with non-tax deductible debt. As an example, in this diagram, Steve and Jane, they have a home that's worth $500,000. They currently have a home loan for $200,000, and they're seeking to find a deposit for an investment property. Obviously, that home loan is not tax deductible. However, the new deposit that's going against the new home is deductible. So we much prefer to split the two loans so that the clients have a clear path on what is deductible and what is not. Further, in that scenario, we like to treat the two different lots of debt differently. From a deductible point of view, it's fine to be interest only, but a high priority for me is ensuring that all of my clients pay off their home loan debt, the non-deductible portion, as quickly as possible. So we much prefer this structuring option as opposed to moulding the two types of debt together.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you, Nick, for taking the time out to offer those words of wisdom. I think we both know just how much of a big difference the right finance structure can ultimately make to an investor's portfolio.